Hey, Big Brother fans. So Rachel made a huge move this week and got out a big competition threat in BB27, but having Rylie evicted on her HoH put her game at risk. We've got your live feed spoilers on who won the next HoH in the wall comp and whether that means Rachel is going to be on the block. It's Belinda. Please click subscribe if you're not following us. After Rylie left the house to a smattering of applause and a couple of boos, and Catherine and others cried their eyeballs out, we got to move on to this season's wall comp. And just by the way, stick around to the end because I have some very interesting info for you about Rylie's exit interviews and what is hinky about them. So the setup for the wall comp was they're hanging onto the side of a train. So the whole murder mystery theme again. And we're just going to real quick go through the results of the comp and talk about who's at risk. So Will and Ashley fell first and second, really close to each other in time, but they both lasted about 30 minutes, which is not terrible. Morgan fell out third a couple of minutes later. We've been expecting a lot from her. She's in great shape. She's a fitness model, all the muscles. Nope. Mickey fell out next. She lasted nearly 50 minutes, and Ava was next to go, lasting just a couple minutes further than Mickey. That left Keanu, Kelly, Vince, Lauren, and Catherine on the wall. Kelly was the next to go, and she lasted nearly an hour. Keanu went after her by 4 minutes. He later told Vince he can't believe he kept his 230 pounds on the wall that long. And honestly, I would have guessed him closer to 270. He is beefy with muscles and whatnot. So Rachel was at significant risk with both Lauren and Catherine still on the wall next to Vince. The ladies both have a grudge against Rachel for nominating and sending Rylie out using Lauren's power veto, which she did warn her, and of course robbing Catherine of her creepy cowboy. But I am hoping we see some sort of evolution for Kat now that Rylie's gone. So that left Vince as Rachel's best possible hope on the wall because he's in the newly formed Judges Alliance with her, Will, Morgan, and Ashley. And he stuck with the judges in voting to send out Rylie. So that's a good sign. Lauren went out in third place at an hour, 8 minutes after dangling by just her hands over her head twice on two really deep tilts in the wall. Back to back, she was able to pull it back the first time, and then she lost control the second time and finally fell, and she was physically shaking and exhausting at that point. Morgan said she hurt herself when she fell. She said she fell funny and hit hard. So that left Catherine and Vince, with Rachel rooting for Vince, obviously, at that point, because he's her best hope. And Vince did try to bargain with Catherine, but that went nowhere. She told Vince she has nowhere else to be, and Catherine's salty at Vince, too. So he definitely needed this win. Meanwhile, it seemed like sheer determination and hatred about Rylie's eviction that was driving Catherine to stay up. I'm also wondering, just by the way, if production has been working hard this week in the DRs to press people to vote Rylie out. In the end, Catherine fell at an hour, 13 minutes, and Vince won HoH. And that put him in a tough position because he's been cutting deals all over the house, and with the house in two factions, this week he's going to be forced to expose his game. By the way, this is Rachel's third time playing Big Brother, and the third time she has not gotten to play the wall comp because she was coming off ahead of Household Reign. So what's wild is Vince pretty much sees he's got to turn on one side of the house or another. Last night, Keanu approached Vince and told him he should nominate Rachel, but only as a pawn. If she hears Keanu said that, she is going to burn him down. Meanwhile, one person for certain Vince knows he's going to nominate is Mickey. Morgan is super upset at Mickey because she knows she was seriously considering voting to evict Morgan and keeping Rylie, but then she waffled and finally voted to save Morgan in the end, but it was the doubts that have her really mad at Mickey. Vince and Morgan talked alone into the wee hours of this morning. I expect him to sleep late unless Big Brother forces him out of bed. Vince was trying to figure out if he could really trust the judges' alliance of, him, Rachel, Will, and Ashley and Morgan, and she assured him it's the real deal. Vince already told Morgan he was not going to nominate Keanu, Will, Morgan, or Lauren, and that left possible going on the block Ava, Ashley, Rachel, Kelly, Catherine, and Mickey. Vince also tried to say that people are expecting to see Rachel on the block, and Morgan pressed him, don't do it. Vince said later that Mickey and Ava both need to go up since they targeted him. You know, Ava just put him on the block on her HOH. And Morgan also told Vince that Catherine is definitely coming for him. Morgan was lobbying him to not nominate Ava. She and Ava have cleared the air now and they're good. And Morgan also said to not let Keanu hog his time and try to push him and run his HOH, which was ironic because Morgan was up there hogging his time and pushing. But at least she's heavily advocating for their allies and not throwing them under the bus like Keanu's doing. Morgan also advised him to backdoor Mickey because she said that she will be able to weasel and influence people into using the veto on her. In the end, we're going to get nominations later today. And the one person that seems almost certain to be seated in one of those three chairs is Mickey. Realistically, Kelly would be good on the block as well because she's a loose cannon and an agent of chaos. And just one last note, if you're looking around today for a Rylie Jeffries exit interview, guess what? They're not happening. They have been delayed, and the big outlets that do them were told they are, quote, scheduling conflicts causing the problem. How can that even be possible? Once a house guest is evicted, they remain under lockdown and are dragged through a million interviews. We've seen it every year. So my prediction, in the end, Riley's going to do a couple of interviews with major outlets that CBS can control. But I bet he's not going to be on the smaller podcast where they would ask him the hard questions and the network can't control them. The prevailing theory right now is Big Brother Production brought in a PR team to coach him, finesse him, explain to him the public perception of him that is so problematic, and course correct him as much as they can. And then I think, as I said, they're going to give a couple of outlets a list of questions they're limited to and cut off anything they can't control. They are in cleanup mode at this point, I expect.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.